Welcome to our second series of Lessons from a Birth and Baby Business Owner. This is the show where we are speaking to those who are in or who have been in the birth or baby world to ask them the questions that you'd like to know the answer to on how they got to where they are in business today. My name is Anna Grange and I'm one half of Baba Business, the Birth and Baby Business Academy.
And my name is Liz Stamford and I'm the other half of Baba Business, the community membership for birth and baby business owners. And today, you might be watching this or listening to this and thinking, who on earth is the guest this week? And I have the pleasure of informing you that today we are talking to the one and only, the amazing Anna Lagrange. So Anna is... bigged you up. Anna is a lactation consultant, positive psychologist, paediatric nurse, mindfulness teacher, and author. She has worked with new families for over 25 years in a variety of clinical and community settings. Anna brings her passion for psychology, neuroscience, and mindfulness into both her lactation work and her coaching practice, and Baba, I might add as well. Anna lives in Cape Town, South Africa, with her husband, 3 children, and 2 dogs. In her spare time, she loves beach walks, yoga, and family get-togethers. So, welcome, Anna, to the Baba
Thanks
podcast.
for having me. On my own podcast. It's a bit weird, isn't it? Let's be honest, but I'm excited to see where this conversation goes. So let's just crack on with it.
Yeah, we had this very inspired idea that we were like, we interview all these other amazing business owners in the birth and baby world, and we have not interviewed each other. So that's how we're finishing this series and the end of the year. A few more episodes to go, but yeah, I hope you are going to enjoy delving into Anna's experience and how she got to where she is today. So I think the best place to start is really, as we always start, but please tell us, why did you start your business? What led you to creating the Mindful Breastfeeding School?
Yeah, well, thank you. Great question. And the nice thing for me is none of these questions are a surprise because we developed them, so that's good. So basically, I've always worked with families, like from when I was really, really, really young. I grew up in a commune. I was always looking after kids. So it's just what I've always done. I was a childminder in the school holidays when I was a child. When I had a family of 4. I used to, when I was 15, I used to childmind a family of 4, like every school holidays. I just loved being with kids and families. And then when I left school, I became a nurse. I'm not going to give you my whole life history, but basically, when I was doing my nursing, I became a mum myself, and also became a breastfeeding peer supporter. And then when I had my 3rd child, we had a lot of breastfeeding challenges, and it really made me realise how complicated and difficult breastfeeding could be for a lot of people. I'd seen it, but I hadn't experienced it myself. And some of the tools that I used to kind of get myself through that phase, that very challenging stuff, were I didn't really know it at the time, but they were mindset tools and also relaxation tools to help increase my milk supply. But I essentially became a lactation consultant because I really felt like people needed more support than I was able to get. So more in-depth support, like that real specialist kind of medical side of lactation help. So that inspired me, plus the people who trained me as a peer supporter, to become a lactation consultant, and that's what I did. So that was 2015. And then I decided with my lovely friend at the time, Ray Dodd, and with a little bit of help for you, that I wanted, I decided with Ray first that I wanted to write a breastfeeding course that brought some of this mind-body connection stuff into it. Ray was already a hypnobirthing teacher. We were also volunteering breastfeeding support together. So it just made a lot of sense to us. Like, why aren't people using this mind-body connection in the breastfeeding world when it's becoming quite big in the birth world? And literally, as we were about to meet that day, Ray was going to come over to my house to have a bit of a chit chat about it. On the way, or that morning or something, Susie Ashworth contacted her and said, "Look, we want some breastfeeding stuff for the Calm Birth School. Can you let me know what you think? Oh, and by the way, liaise with Liz Stamford. She's in charge, basically." And that's literally, so that is not only how I sort of met you, but also how the mindful breastfeeding school started. So it was like this kind of like real, I don't know, just the universe dropping all these different things in. All I knew at the time was I wanted to help mums. I wanted to help people more in their pregnancy to get ready for breastfeeding, and I wanted to work with Ray Dodd, and I wanted it to be big. Those are the things that I knew. But then all the other things just dropped in, which was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I remember so clearly that that meeting, that first Zoom meeting with you and I and Ray, and I just remember thinking like, this is such an amazing idea. I can't believe that nobody's done it. Like it was very inspired and inspiring. And so of course, like the Calm Birth School wanted to be involved and support and help as much as possible. But yeah, I can't believe that was like 2015. It's crazy how quickly.
Yeah, 2015, maybe 2016. I think I have a feeling it was March 2016, because I remember Ray and we did, and maybe like the whole thing didn't necessarily evolve how we'd all planned it, but that was 100% the starting point. And I'd actually love to, I'm just going on a total aside here, which we do all the time. We've done the natal chart, haven't we, of Baba? I'd love to go and look at that date and that time and look at like what was happening in the stars at that point, because I'm sure it's probably something quite magical, because what came from that was something completely that none of us have imagined, which is where the Mindful Breastfeeding School is today. So Ray and I didn't end up working together for particularly long, because it wasn't the right thing for her. She had other dreams and visions that she wanted to move forward, and she wanted to come out of the birth world. So it wasn't a good fit for her. So that was fine. And, the Mindful Breastfeeding School itself just became its own energy, because when we started talking about it, specifically with Calm Birth School, people and instructors, what people were really interested in wasn't, I want to sell your course or share your course with parents, the parents course that we created. It was actually, I want to learn how to do this. I want to, just like I've learned how to teach hypnobirthing, I now want to learn how I can use this for lactation. And that's what kind of moved the Mindful Breastfeeding School into what it is today, because that's what people wanted. And I just followed that, and it took off in such a big way. I started off by just doing some talks and stuff online, and it came clear very, very quickly that actually I needed to create a course for professionals. So that's what I did. And I say quickly, but the truth is the first course was actually in 2018 for professionals. It must have been around about, I think, maybe a year and a bit. It took me to put that course together, get brave enough to actually, find a venue and put some money into it, basically, and just take that leap into, is this going to work? And, let's actually do it. So that was my very first course with the Mindful Breastfeeding School for professionals. It was an in-person course. It was in Canterbury, and it was in May 2018. So
amazing.
Yeah,
and
that's
I think
it, basically, and the rest is history.
Oh, okay, bye. So what I think is really important is I'm going to bring you back. Something that you at that point were basically what you had an inspired idea. You had something new that you wanted to bring to the birth and baby world. And that's one of the stages of, as far as we see them when it comes to the birth and baby world, is we work with people who have these new ideas that they want to bring to market. And the Mindful Breastfeeding School, in its originality with that kind of, online program, was so new. Not, in fact, everything about it. The idea of breastfeeding, parent education on being accessible online in that video format, then the mindfulness aspect of it. The duo of you and Ray at the time as well was like, fantastic. Everything about it was amazing. But let's go back a little bit, because prior to that, you were a lactation consultant. You were a breastfeeding peer supporter. So you were in that realm of, working with people locally. And how did that feel after being, and I know you still are a paediatric nurse, but how did it feel after being, working for the NHS and working in that very challenging environment, and then also setting up this business and getting clients and trying to figure all of that out. Like, how did that feel?
Yeah. I had a push-pull for many years because I knew I wanted to become a lactation consultant. I wanted to train for it, but I also didn't have the first foggiest clue about running my own business. Like, not
Yeah,
a clue.
ditto.
Nothing. I'd never done anything apart from like a bit of babysitting when I was at childminding stuff but you know what I mean? Like, literally no clue. So I was really starting with the dark. So I think and I had at the time when I was training, I had quite a good job as a nurse manager for a continuing care company, which was NHS contracts, but it was because they were specialists. We were specialists in end of life and complex paediatric care. It was sort of like contracted to them. So it was a really important job. I really loved it. It was doing really amazing things. And it was well paid. And so for quite a while, I tried to do both. But I knew quite early on I had to make the decision. Like, if I really, really wanted to, do this lactation consultant work, I was going to have to, because I had young kids as well. I did have 3 young kids at home. I had to make that choice, and it was hard. I remember even coming over here to South Africa and chatting to my brother-in-law about it and being like, I don't know what to do. I feel so stuck. I don't know whether I've got this great job. Like, they look after me so well. I can literally shape the job however I want, but like, my heart is really, excited now. My heart is really in this lactation work that I've trained for, and I remember even after that, I stuck it out for a bit longer, and there's a lot more to it. Well, I will share it because I think it's relevant to the podcast. So at that same time, when I was trying to make that decision, that summer holiday, I came down with this crippling migraine. Never had a migraine before. Never even had headaches. I didn't even know it was a migraine. I had a sort of like, I'd had a few weeks of really bad pain in my face, and it had been misdiagnosed with a few neurological things. And then one day I sort of collapsed at work and went to hospital and that kind of stuff. And they said to me, you've had a stroke. So I was like, okay. Anyway, turns out I hadn't had a stroke. Went down this whole, had lots of MRI scans, all this kind of stuff. And turned out it wasn't. It was just like a very unusual migraine. That migraine went on for 10 months. And so I became very, very poorly with 3 kids. And my husband had a job which, took him, he was out in London a lot. Yeah. And something had to give. And I was doing a little bit of lactation work, and I was also doing this job, and the commute for this job was a lot. And so for me, that was the nail of the coffin for that job. I was like, actually, this job isn't the right thing for me anymore, as much as I really love it. And it's a great opportunity. Actually, it's really impacting my health. So that was actually the deciding factor. Otherwise, I'd probably still be going on both now, because I find it really hard to choose between all the different things I love. I'm like a very multi-passionate person. I always enjoy the jobs I do. So I do find it hard to make those kind of decisions. So that's actually what happened. And then it was time I was like, right, okay, this is what I'm doing. And it was almost an instant kind of recovery. As far as
that's amazing, though. Don't you think that the universe was probably shoving you in a certain direction, and you were kind of ignoring it because of your passion for both things that you were doing, and it was going, no, go on, and then suddenly it was, okay, you need to take notice. I mean, sorry, I've just gone a bit woo-woo, but I know you get it. Just this is the thing that's going to make you take notice, because this is what you're supposed to do with your life.
Yeah, and I think that is a message I've had many times through my life, because I'm so bad at, saying no to things, or not even saying no to things. It was something I wanted to do, but I just feel like it was a very extreme message from the universe. But it was also my body just being like, enough.
Yeah.
You're doing this crazy commute. You've got 3 kids with challenging stuff going on with them. Your husband works crazy hours. Like, rest, you need to rest, woman, basically. And that was also my journey to rest, when I learned to start resting. So that I literally didn't before then. So yeah, that was a really pivotal time in my life, massively. That's sort of 2016, 2017. So yeah, that's what made the decision and the leap. And so that's basically what happened.
So what was it like when you no longer had the security of that job, and then you were trying to create an income, build your reputation in your local area as a breastfeeding peer supporter, lactation consultant. How long did it take for you to be able to say you were like happy with what you were earning and the amount of clients you were seeing?
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it, to look back at something which feels like quite a long time ago, because I remember it all happening quite quickly, but when I think about the dates, actually, it wasn't as quick as I thought. But what I do know is that once I'd made that decision, I was just all in. Do you know what I mean? I was everything. And one of the funny things, I know we've told about this on the podcast before, but one of the things I did is I decided I was going to do antenatal classes. Didn't know about the mindful side of it yet, but I was going to do the antenatal classes. I was going to do them in my hometown, Canterbury and Margate. And I was going to advertise, and they were going to fill up, and it was going to be amazing. And I did all these flyers, and I kind of went and spoke to businesses and stuff, and I put flyers everywhere, and it was very, very disheartening that I didn't get a single inquiry to start with. And
because part of you thinks it's going to be that easy, doesn't it? When you have that passion, that motivation, that desire. I remember it as well. It's like, I'll just like leave a few leaflets around, tell a few people, and it'll all be good. But no, it takes a little bit of time, doesn't it?
I had this obsession with supermarket notice boards, because I used to do it. I used to find everything that I wanted on those supermarket notice boards. I absolutely loved them. So I had decided, as soon as I put a flyer up on every supermarket notice board in the whole of Kent or whatever, that my business was just going to take off. But it didn't quite happen like that. So, but luckily I did have a multi-pronged approach. And I had a few contacts. So in Margate, I had a few contacts, quite a kind of flurry of clients there. And one of those clients had a cafe. So I spoke to them, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we'd love to have you teaching in our cafe." Ray, again, the hypnobirthing teacher, she was already teaching for them as well. So it was just like, so I went and did some classes there. That was quite nice. And they obviously told all their customers. That was really good, because they were like a customer-facing business. They also had young twins themselves. So they were in that world. They had their friends coming to their cafe. It was quite a busy, well-known place in Margate at the time. Well, it still is, but they don't run it anymore. But so that was a really good connection, because they were doing that people-facing stuff, and they were doing a lot of advertising for me. They always did such lovely things, which was really, really helpful. And then in Faversham, my hometown, I was obviously still volunteering. I went round and I saw the midwives and spoke to them. I know one midwife, she like put my flyers on my door. She's like, "Oh, we've got our own classes, but when it's the right person that comes along, I'll just know that you're right for them. I'm going to pass one of yours to them," which was really sweet. Yeah, that was nice. Really and sweet. I just went. We had a completely bonkers woman who ran Aquanatal. She's a midwife who's completely and utterly bonkers. Loved her. She was a retired midwife, and I'd gone to her Aquanatal classes. So obviously I contacted her, and I was like, "I'm doing this." So she was really great. And I just contacted everyone I could think of in my local community. And I also had a local hypnobirthing instructor, not Ray. Someone else who also started recommending my classes to everybody. And that's really where I built up my antenatal classes, was there in Faversham, through contact, through getting known, being on the Facebook group, just all of it, just like a multi-pronged approach. Chatting to the old ladies in the queue at the post office, you know what, and the works, like always just obsessing about my business and what I did and how I could help people.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to, you have to live and breathe it initially. If you really want to build it up to a point where it is creating you a sustainable income, and you've got that passion, you want to reach people. So that's amazing. So then eventually you progressed to developing the mindfulness aspect of the teaching, and then that led to you creating the video program. So, and now you're teaching professionals. So what would you say, maybe this is one to look back on, but what would you say differentiates you from any other business that might be providing something similar? Now, I already know that the Mindful Breastfeeding School is pretty unique anyway in what it does. Is there anything else that differentiates you? Did you think when you were a lactation consultant, was there something, I mean, you still are, but when that was your primary income back in Kent, was there anything that differentiated you from others, you felt?
I just knew that I wanted to do something more than just be a local lactation consultant. I say just because it's a really important role, and I still really, as you know, even now in Cape Town I have a clinic. It's really important for me to work with parents. I absolutely love it. But I just always had this inkling that I wanted to do more, and there was more. And I didn't know that it was going to be the mindfulness side of things. But I just always felt, I suppose, I don't really like the word ambitious. I'm not sure if that really would be the word I choose, but that's the word that's coming to mind. I just always had that there was something more that I wanted to do, and I didn't know what it was. And I remember, so one thing I remember is, because obviously I was working with Ray for those probably about 18 months maybe. And I remember she started working with a local coach, Susie Ashworth. And I remember I was just like, this is what I need. Like, I just had a feeling, I had an inkling that this was a person I needed to get to know, a person I wanted in my circle, because I didn't know what it was. I think I must have seen her obviously I'd seen her in the car and birth school, but must have been something about her presence online or something. And I felt something in that. And I was like, this woman is someone who's going to be able to help me with whatever it is I'm going to do in the future. And I became, as Paul would say, like a little bit obsessed with it. I decided, I was like, I wanted to work with Susie. I knew she was going to help me. I hadn't even ever had a coach before. I didn't even really know what coaching was, or I was just learning what it was. Do you know what I mean? But I just had this sense that she or people like her were going to help me on my path. I suppose that's what I did. I started then, obviously the way, because Ray's a coach now, but she was already starting to use that coaching language and that sort of idea about, what do you really want? Because up until that point, I was sort of, I suppose, following a path of like, well, I'm going to become a lactation consultant and I'm going to support people in my community. And then, but suddenly the concepts that coaching, if you want, was bringing to me was like, well, hang on a minute, like the world is your oyster. You can literally, create what you want and give it a go. And there was definitely something in the air at that time for me, like a real energy that got me very excited, and it just made me say yes to stuff all the time. And like you working with you and Susie, that was one of those first yeses. You know what I mean? Again, and I'm going on retreat with Susie Ashworth again, another year or so later was another yes. And every time someone wanted me to speak, or wanted me, like, it filled me with so much fear and discomfort, but I just said yes. And that, I suppose it's, I don't even know if it's courage. It's just putting myself out there and knowing that if I wanted to make this work, I was going to have to do some stuff that I wouldn't have imagined doing. If that makes sense.
Growth is uncomfortable, isn't it? And that's something you need to get used to as a business owner. It can be really quite a strong feeling. It's sort of, you're repelled away from anything new or different or challenging, but you've got to push towards it if you really want to follow your passion and your motivation and your desire.
Yeah, so there was a push, but at the same time I was constantly being pulled. Like, I've always got like an image now, like I've put like a string, a golden thread being attached to my heart. Like I was constantly being pulled in this direction. Probably the strongest time I've ever felt that was with the Mindful Breastfeeding book. I never wanted to write a book. I didn't feel comfortable about it. I didn't really, never had a big desire to be a published author or anything like that. But it was just like, there was this message, you have to write a book. Why do I have to write a book? Oh, because you're doing something different that no one else is talking about, and it really makes a difference to the women. And I was like, oh God, I've got to write a book. Do you know what I mean? It was like, there were so many things in my breastfeeding school that was just like, it was a message, it dropped, and I just did it because it felt like the right thing to do.
Yeah, definitely.
So it was like, there was a pushing, but I was also being pulled by this force. And we talk about this in Baba as well, because we really felt that with Baba, didn't we? That kind of being pulled in a direction that feels like it's the right thing to do. It's not always easy, but it is. There is this sort of real sense of purpose that is sort of bigger than us, and I really felt that with Mindful Breastfeeding School as well.
Yeah, it's like an unstoppable force, and you just gotta go with it. So, is there anything, looking back on like your entire journey, is there anything that you would have done differently?
Oh my God.
With
this
hindsight,
question is so hard, because on the surface I'd say yes, there was so many things I would do differently, so many things. But on the other hand, if you had have done different things differently, you wouldn't have this, pathway that you have now.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm having a problem with my microphone today. Sorry about that. I think it's a really challenging question.
It's silences on podcasts never work well. So
We'll just edit it out.
we're just gonna say
I'm really thinking hard about this. No, it's okay. I am going to answer it. I think with me, it's stuff that I still need to work on, which I wish that I was better at, and that is about saying yes. And I think it's about, because for me, with my business and how hard I work, it's a constant trying not to burn out. I also go after new ideas quite often, and so sometimes on business I'm doing the bare minimum, not the bare minimum, but like the things to get the sales and move forward. I also love creating things, but actually some of the big things that I should have done more of, and I would like to do more of the Mindful Breastfeeding School, is the PR stuff, the reaching out to the national press, potentially even looking for to have conversations on television. I've done a bit. I've spoken at some conferences, and I think in my professional world I'm pretty well known, but I think I wish I'd done more, and I still can do more on that sort of more commercial front. I think probably if I was going to have one regret, it would be that, but it's never too late. It's not like there's not a chance to do that. So I think that's the key thing, to move the Mindful Breastfeeding on, and to spread it out, grow the audience, all of that jazz, would be to be a little bit braver with my visibility, to be honest with you.
Yeah. That's very honest. And I think, as sometimes people might look at you with an established business and the stage that you've got to, and feel like, oh yeah, it's all right for Anna, she's used to all this, or hasn't got any fears. But we've all got limiting beliefs and challenges and fears that we have to face. And sometimes we don't even know we're doing it. Do you know what I mean? We don't even know that we're kind of backing away from these opportunities, because we're not looking for them because of the limiting fears. That is really interesting. So now I feel like, now you've said that, I feel like loads of PR opportunities are going to open up for you. And I think that's going to be very exciting indeed. So it feels so weird interviewing you. So what regular habits or like mindset practices do you use to help you with running your business? And maybe this is where you could talk a little bit about becoming a positive psychologist as well. Like, is that sort of intertwined?
Well, it's so interesting, isn't it? Because we work in the mind-body connection stuff, so we know this stuff. We don't always naturally use it for ourselves as much as we should, which is a bit crazy. But I think I probably do use it more than most. I think, but it's interesting. We've mentioned this in the podcast before, but a few months ago, we went and looked back at all our old journals from that time I was talking about, that sort of, 2017, 16 to 18, I guess, era. And we were journaling a lot, and we were journaling on a lot of like gratitude and really writing a lot of stuff out. And I loved all that, and I think that's useful, and I still use those tools now. But what I'm moving into more now is the somatic work. I think the somatic work is so useful. I think it's so helpful. I feel really lucky that we have our own accountability group, so we try and keep each other accountable for our, we call them our rituals, but it's not just mindset work. It's all the work that we know that helps us get over our mindset blocks, helps us to manifest, helps us to connect with our purpose. All of the stuff that we teach to other people, we actually do need our own accountability group to help us with that. And that's really, that's sort of, in a way, that's kind of what helped form Baba, because over the pandemic, you and me, we chatted a lot about our businesses. We supported each other because we weren't able to do that sort of face-to-face stuff anymore. We've got quite similar business models, so we were able to sort of support each other on a practical level, but also on a sort of listening and a mindset level as well. And we sort of started doing little programs and things together, didn't we? Like different things like challenges, and we're still doing it now, which is really, really lovely. But I think coming back to my staples, what do I do every day? For me, it's getting outside. At the moment, because it's school holidays, I can't get out and walk as much as I would. But what I've been doing is I've been making myself do the Huberman thing, which is to go and get that 20 minutes of sunlight in the morning.
Yeah.
So I get up, I do my energy flow tapping, which I'm not going to go into here, and then I go into the garden and I get some sunlight before I even look at a screen, so that I've at least got that sort of. But I'll be honest, like it changes, it chops and changes all the time. I sort of try and feel into what I need at that time and at that moment, but I'm always doing something or other.
Yeah, and we've started to be really intentional about things together, haven't we? Because we've got this accountability group, and we've just done like an abundant 21 days of abundance, and then we moved on to the Donna Eden energy tapping challenge, which is what you were just referring to. And now we're moving on to something else as well, which maybe we'll reveal more about at another time. But having that support from somebody is really helpful. And I think if you're a business owner and you're not doing anything to kind of nurture your mind, nurture your body, to release any of that negative energy, limiting beliefs, all of those sorts of things, then you're probably really holding yourself back in your business. And this is, even at this stage in business, this is still becoming apparent to me, that the more that I lean into that type of work, the easier it is to, grow your success, to do the things that you really want to do. So anyone who's not doing stuff like that, please do. Okay.
No, look, you have to. I think it's it is like an absolute essential. It's not like even especially if you're running a small business and you want to be able to cope with, you've got to be able to cope with the ups and downs that inevitably come with business. Like, you have to do it. You have to have practices. They might not be the same things that we use, but you have to have practices to help you through those bumps, and also just to stay in tune. Like, we've recently, we've really needed to remind ourselves over the last couple of months that we need to tune back into our purpose. It's so easy when you're on a business and when there's so much noise from other businesses or other coaching or just the stuff we watch on social media, because I know all of us, we're all watching other birth and baby businesses, but we also got people on our feeds who we want, the kind of people who might be able to help us with information on whatever it is, how to build your business, people like us, how to build your business, how to get, how to build your following, how to get bookings, all that kind of stuff. But the problem is that stuff's really, really, really helpful. And I'm not saying it isn't, because there's always learning to be done in business. But if you have got so much of that it's all you're thinking about, the how to do this, how to do that, I must get it right, why is this not working, you completely lose your connection with your why for your business and your intuition and what is the right thing for you. And it's so easy at any stage of business to do that. It's so easy. So this stuff it really is essential when things are going well and when things are not going so well, to have those practices that you can bring it back to. Why am I doing this? Who am I doing this for? How do I want this to make me feel, etc., etc. And it's very key.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it's really key to keep it going even when things are going well, because I am definitely guilty of someone who goes back to it when I'm like, why is everything going wrong? Why don't I feel like, I want to do this or I want to do that? And then I realize, I haven't been doing my practices, go back to it, and then, start to feel on an even keel again and start to be able to welcome, more things into my life that I'm wanting. So just keeping it going even in the good times is super, super important as well. Definitely. So tell us a bit about becoming a positive psychologist and why you decided
sorry, you were off that ages ago, sorry. So I basically, I loved all the stuff I was doing for the mindful breastfeeding school. I loved the mindfulness. I trained to be my mindfulness teacher really, really early on in my journey, because I'd already kind of picked up on the mind-body connection. I was like, I have got a lot more to learn about this.
Yeah.
Before I can start teaching people and before I can share, I really want to know. So I did that, and I really built up a very strong personal mindfulness practice before I sort of, was ready to kind of share that with more people. But the positive psychology for me was really, I wanted to understand the science. Like, I really wanted to understand the science of how this stuff works, how it works, why it works. How else can I help people? Positive psychology is essentially coaching psychology or well-being psychology, whatever you want to call it. It's the idea that, a lot of psychology just kind of looks at not having a mental health illness, not being depressed, not having anxiety, not, but there's so much more to life than just not, struggling. We want to thrive. We want people to do really well. We want people to be the absolutely best, have the most fulfilling and happy lives they possibly can. So that's why I went into it, really. And I was also quite keen to get back to studying because I love to study. And yeah, it was a really, really good experience, and I love doing it. Interestingly, I don't know. It's given me a lot of new information. It enabled me to take mindful breastfeeding and kind of test it out and put it into, and write about it. But I don't know if it's really made a huge difference to what I would be able to do as a business owner. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's given me some potential, I guess, and a bit of I suppose you can have a little bit of kudos. It's nice to say that, and I really enjoy the process of it. Has it made a huge difference to my businesses? Probably not.
Yeah, relatable. I can definitely connect with that, with some of the qualifications that I have gone on to get. But there is a lot to be said for doing something for enjoyment and for your own personal development. Right, not everything has to be related to the growth of the business, because your growth essentially affects the business as well. So indirectly, even though it's maybe not tangible, I'm sure that it has had some kind of an impact. And we can't really go any further without talking a little bit more about Baba and, tell us a little bit. I mean, you already spoke about how it felt like we were being pulled in this direction, but tell us a little bit about why Baba came to be and why it's important to you.
Well, I mean, it was a sort of decision made on a bit of a whim, really. But at the same time, we'd both been supporting businesses through the Calm Birth School, through the Mindful Breastfeeding School. And we obviously had a certain level of, helping people, get ready for their business and that kind of stuff. But I think both of us wanted to spend more time with people on that stuff. And we wanted to also, which I think is the truth of, like, the reality of it, is we wanted to do something together. We wanted to create something together, and we really wanted to offer something to people. But also, we've been in the coaching world for quite a while, like doing odd bits of coaching for our students and stuff. But we wanted to make something that was really affordable and sort of low cost. So a lot of coaching has been it's changing a lot actually, but at that point, sort of 2022, still a lot of coaching was still quite a big investment, which we are huge fans of. We love investing in coaching, but at the same time, for a lot of these new people that were coming out of our schools, they were, earning small amounts to start with. They were still building things up. They'd already spent quite a lot on their coaching, on their training program, and so we wanted to create something that was really, really accessible. And also we could work with people in a deeper way on running their businesses, and also actually not just work with the people we trained, but work with other people as well that weren't necessarily our own students. And that's how Baba was born. We just literally got together. We'd had a day with us and a friend of ours, and on the way back, I think you were going from Euston, I was going to St Pancras, so we kind of were walking back that way together. And you were like, should we, what do you think? Should we ever, what do you think about starting something together? And like, I don't think you even knew what at that moment. I don't think I
knew what, but I'd listened to a podcast on the way up to London, and it had been about memberships. And so I think I just threw that out when we said, should we do something together? And I was like, something sort of businessy, like, membership or something. And then I think you were like, oh, a membership. Yeah. So I think we both came upon the membership idea together, that was how it was going to be. But yeah, I'm so glad I asked that question. And, because I didn't know.
Oh my God, imagine if you hadn't.
I know, but I didn't know if it was something that you had space for at that point, like you just moved to, well, you weren't long in how long were you in South Africa? A year, maybe?
I've been there for a year. I've been there exactly a year.
Yeah. And this was a flying visit back.
Yeah, it was just a short visit. I think what blows me away is then how quickly it snowballed from that initial question to chatting a little bit more at the station, and then on the train, both of us chatting on the train, it just snowballed into this thing. We literally had a logo planned and the colour scheme by the time we both got home. That's how crazy it was about it. Like, it was just like, I don't know, time stood still or something.
It was.
And then I think a week later or even a few days later, we've got the name, we've got the whole Birth and Baby Business Academy thing. The name came to us. We worked that out, I think, on the train. Then we sort of got an idea for a logo. I was like, this isn't quite it. And then I had someone I'd met, a designer here in Cape Town. So I was like, well, why don't I ask Liesl if she could have a little fiddle around with this for us? Then it just all went really quickly. So that was in April. And then by the July, and then our plan was to start in September.
Yeah.
So we were going to spend sort of the next few months getting it ready and getting it started in September. So we wanted to check that we were on the right path. Were we wasting our time here? So of course, which you should always do, very important, send out a bit of a survey or go and speak to some people. So we were obviously very lucky that we had our students who were our ideal clients already. So we sent out a survey. I think we had about 50 replies to the survey. And as that survey, when they started to get these survey results back, very, very positive, what people shared, with our ideas. And we were like, why would we wait till September? We have got 50 people here who have told us, I don't think they were all, yes, I would join, but most of them were. We've got 50 people here who are interested. We've sparked their interest. We've started talking about something. Why would we now make them wait 3 months? And that was that.
You did
Ready by July. We launched it. We did a secret launch just to our students, end of July, and the rest is history.
Yeah, it's amazing, really. It's been an absolute whirlwind, and not without its challenges as well. It might look it was easy. It was so easy in the beginning. Like we said, it just pulled itself along. But we have definitely, which we will absolutely do a podcast on at some point, we have had challenges along the way. That was so sorry, my Christmas lights just switched on by themselves. So random.
Yeah, it was like, thinking back to it, it was so almost magical. It was so like we were being really pulled along by something. You've got to follow that stuff. Like, that is my I may be answering the last question here a little bit early, but if that was my one thing that I'd recommend,
it's your one piece of advice for a baby business owner.
Like, when those things drop in, when those ideas drop in and they feel exciting and they feel like you feel that buzz and that fizz, even if you've got no idea how you're going to get there, or if you don't have even the resources at that moment, because quite frankly, when I started thinking about the mindful breastfeeding school stuff, I didn't have the resources at that point, really, other than an idea, and obviously my lactation knowledge, but I had to really put my trust in the fact that it was all going to sort of work out, and I, would go and get the resources I needed. And so when those ideas drop in, no matter how crazy they seem, Baba didn't seem crazy, but just if they do, because sometimes they do, like, those are your nuggets. Those are that's the path of breadcrumbs, if you like, that you need to follow. And the more you can learn how to tune in or to notice, or if you want to say an internal yes to those things, the better, because those are the things that are going to help you grow a really special and unique business. Not going on, when I was training, I was going to do this, or my instructor gave us this way of doing things. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with taking, because that's how we train people. Like, here's his package, go and teach it. But the truth is that it's it's that those special starts, those ideas that drop in, those are the things that are really going to set you apart from other people. And not only that, those are the things that are going to make it exciting for you, like an exciting and fun journey for you. And that energy, that's what brings in sales and brings in people to your world.
Yeah, I think not following those breadcrumbs is what can make your motivation disappear. It can make you get stuck in your business, and it can make you feel really negative about what it is that you're trying to achieve. But if you have the courage to follow those little nudges, and follow your path, your passion, your desire, who knows where it'll lead, because it is an exciting, isn't that what life is all about? Is, to create and enjoy and develop and grow. Very good piece of advice there. So thank you, Anna. As we come to the end of the podcast here, I hope that the people listening or watching have enjoyed hearing more about Anna's backstory and her rise to creating a sustainable business in the birth and baby world. If you would like more information about the Mindful Breastfeeding School, you can go to
Mindful Breastfeeding on Instagram. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
It's called. Oh my god,
it's called Mindful Breastfeeding.
Don't even know
School.
my own handles. Mindful Breastfeeding School. Or you can go to www.themindfulbreastfeedingschool.com to our website to find out more about our training.
Absolutely. Or you can head over to Baba. You can obviously interact with Anna over there as well. Do let us know what you thought of this podcast episode. You can drop a comment, like, subscribe to your podcast provider or here on YouTube. And leave us a review. We love a bit of interaction, or come and have a chat on the DMs over on Instagram. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.